Welcome to the Life After Sugar podcast, the podcast that's not just about sugar, but about your relationship with it and also with food and especially with yourself. So if you want to discover your life after sugar and hear inspiring stories from all kinds of people who also cut out sugar in their way, at their pace, for their own reasons, this is the podcast for you. Because when you take away the sugar, you can finally discover the real sweetness in your life. I'm your host, Netta Gorman, and in this episode, I'm talking with Alex Miller, who tells his story of losing over 200 pounds, yes, by cutting sugar, but also by changing his mindset about food and sugar. This is such an inspiring story that I want to share with you because it shows that the relationship somebody has with sugar and foods that contain it is central to becoming free from sugar and cravings. We'll get to our chat in just a minute. But first, I just wanted to tell you that if you're looking for some free resources, then I have plenty for you. First, download my 5 tips to get rid of cravings. And those 5 tips may not be what you think they are. So go to aftersugarclub.com and download your 5 tips today. And while you're at aftersugarclub.com, why not take the cravings quiz? I created this cravings quiz specifically to help you start thinking more deeply about what triggers your cravings. And when you do this quiz, you'll get your personalized score as well as my practical tips to help you take your first step to get rid of cravings. Those free resources are at aftersugarclub.com. And also, come check out the Life After Sugar Facebook page and subscribe to the Life After Sugar YouTube channel, as well as my Instagram account at MyLifeAfterSugar, which is where you'll get all kinds of inspiration so that you can see that it's perfectly possible to live a happy and active life even if you don't eat sugar. You can also check out my TikTok account at Netta_lifeaftersugar. All right, so here's my chat with Alex. All right, so we're here today with Alex. And Alex, can you tell us a little bit about your background growing up with food and particularly with sugar?
Yeah, I struggled with food for most of my life, but I never knew that it was addiction or that I had a real problem that could be solved. I just internalized it as being lazy and weak-willed and not having any discipline, and I thought it was a character flaw and that I was just bad and probably doomed to be, big and fat and unhappy forever. Uh, so I felt like a victim and just pretty hopeless and like it was all my fault. And as I got older and I was watching different documentaries, there was one on Netflix called Fed Up, which started to talk about the food industry. It started talking about how, sugar is put in everything and sugar is addictive and sugar makes the body sick. And I started to realize this is not a problem with my lack of willpower and me being a bad person. Like I've been poisoned. And my whole life I've been told it's my fault and ridiculed and mocked by people, when in fact I've been suffering from something that I could have avoided if I'd been informed and if I wasn't being preyed upon and marketed to by big companies, right? So, that discovery led to me being inspired and realizing, you know what, I can take responsibility for myself. This is not my fault, but I'm the only person that's going to fix it. And so, I started to really clean up my act and I started walking and I started eating clean and I just got really passionate about it because I realized this is my solution. This is the thing, I've daydreamed about finding a genie in a bottle and rubbing it and the genie just makes me skinny so I don't have to figure it out and do any of the work because I figured it was so hard and I can't control myself. And I realized I don't need that genie. Like I just need to quit sugar. I just need to get off the processed food. So, it really saved my life. I lost 200 pounds. I got off all my medication. I went from like a 5X to a medium. could wear skinny jeans and feel confident in myself when I went out and finally felt comfortable around people and being around friends and being social. So it really transformed my life. And I just wanted to pay that forward. I realized, I got a second chance at life. Not everybody does. A lot of people, they die young and they leave their families behind because they never get off sugar. They never accept, they never realize that it's an addiction problem. And freedom, freedom is as easy as cutting out the thing that's poisoning you. So yeah, I just want to share my second chance and all the things that I had to figure out, all the skills and the life lessons I had to learn in order to be okay with living my life without sugar.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. And so that kind of uh, vision of yourself, of, a victim, and I'm just quoting you, when did that start? How young were you?
Well, I'm sure I was really young, probably by between the ages of like 8 and 10 years old, I was overweight. So I was treated really poorly. There's a lot of different reasons I was being bullied. Like I moved around a lot, so I never knew anybody at my schools. I was living in Hawaii. Ironically, if you're the white kid, you're kind of uh, the target a little bit. So, uh, I got bullied for that, and yeah, I just never felt like I fit in. Lots of different reasons why people showed me evidence that I was unlovable, and so obviously I internalized that and didn't feel good about myself. And yeah, it's just started really young and really just got worse and worse.
I think a lot of us can relate to that. And did you use food for comfort?
Uh, I don't think I did consciously. I feel like it was always more of um, it was just a familiarity thing. It was like, coming home late after everybody's asleep and then raiding the fridge and raiding the pantry, um, and liking food. And it just came so naturally to me to, even into my early 20s, like getting an entire pizza and that was my dinner, like just the whole pizza. And I didn't think that was uh out of the ordinary. It was just like, oh, I'm hungry. Like I can eat that much without being too full. So it's normal,
Yeah.
right? Not realizing like, oh, my stomach is completely stretched out from constant overeating and volume eating. So I don't know if I realized I was doing emotional eating or that it was compulsive or that it was addictive or that I was binge eating. I just thought this is how I do it. And it's weird and like obviously I'm different from other people, but I just thought I was eating that way because I was fat.
Ah, yeah.
And
So you
I
were
was
like,
fat because I was eating that way, right?
right, I was going to say it's like a double layer of self-blame.
Hmm.
Yeah, we get into this vicious cycle, and it's not just about the food. It's as you were saying, it's I feel bad about myself, therefore I go towards that food, and that food makes me feel worse about myself, and on it goes.
Yeah.
How did you break that cycle? Was it like an aha moment? Was it when you watched the documentary Fed Up, or did it sort of did were there stepping stones before that?
Yeah, it took a while. That opened my eyes and really inspired me, but it took a couple more years. Trying to be more health conscious. I was living with somebody at the time who really was not interested and didn't really want to do that with me. Um, and so, it was kind of back and forth where I was trying to like meal prep and, eat better. And then we'd go and get fast food because she didn't want to cook and, kind of back and forth like that. And then I moved home after that relationship ended. And, living with my family was pretty challenging. So, it was a couple of years of, being aware and really wanting to do it, but, really struggling with temptations and uh, finding myself falling off the wagon and having to get back on and falling off again and really knowing what I needed to do, but not being able to get myself to do it consistently. And one day I think I just got really tired and really fed up, and I had to look at myself in the mirror and say, from now on, I refuse to be the type of person that breaks promises to myself. And I have to start this and I have to really mean it and I have to stick with it no matter what comes up. If somebody offers me something, if I'm at a social event, if I'm having a bad day, it does not matter. I just don't do it. And getting really strict with myself and setting rules and setting parameters around what I would do, not from a place of restriction, but from a place of character, of like if you make a wedding vow, you're not going to break that wedding vow, right? It means something to you, and there are consequences to breaking that promise. And so I had to stop thinking in terms of a diet where, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to have a treat. I can make an exception if I feel like it, because I've had a bad day, or because I'm at a party, or because somebody offers it to me and I don't want to say no, versus I don't eat sugar, period. And having that mentality where there was a strict rule in place, I no longer had to expend willpower because there was no fighting, there was no reasoning, there was no bargaining, there was no negotiating with terrorists. It was just the answer was no, and so I could turn my attention into other things that required decision making.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. And did you have to do this all on your own?
Initially, yeah, but I think uh, had a lot of support. I didn't do like a 12-step approach, which I think is very helpful, because it's so much more hands-on. But I was just very involved in, I liked watching people on YouTube. I liked being in Facebook groups and uh, kind of just talking to people like that, and being around like-minded people, and being able to ask questions so I could understand the weight loss process and understand, what other people were doing successfully, and seeing people's before and after pictures. All of that was really helpful, um, because it's not just about what you do, right? Anybody can go on a sugar detox for a week. It's really about who you are, and it's about positively identifying yourself as a sober person. It's about positively identifying yourself as a keto person or a vegan person or a CrossFitter or any of these labels or identities or subcultures where people are very passionate. I think that it's really good to be a part of a tribe, because, if you're out at a party and somebody offers you food and you don't have a tribe and it's not really important for you to be sugar free, then sure, why not just have a little bit? But if you're connected to that identity, then when somebody offers it to you, it's no temptation, because the thought of doing something is completely out of alignment with who you are and what's important to you. And that's when you really have a strong sense of motivation and self-control and willpower and discipline and all these really, really vague concepts that never seem to work. It's much more about conviction and about your discipline as how you do things versus just what you feel like doing.
Yeah, and who you are, how you see yourself, or what kind of person you want to be. And, James Clear talks about this in his book, Atomic Habits, of the powerful difference between this is what I do and this is who I am.
Yep, exactly. That's
Yeah,
one of the books that inspired me and made me realize that this really difficult change process that people try to do when they're losing weight is, people think that they're going to lose weight and it's going to make them like themselves. It's going to turn them into the person that they want to be. You have to mentally decide that you are that person. And like, I am a skinny person stuck in a fat body. And because all of my decisions and all of my priorities and all of my values and all of the things that I do on a day-to-day basis are in alignment with being a fit, athletic, healthy, confident person, my body's going to catch up eventually.
yeah,
But if I'm a fat person on a diet, right? If I think fundamentally like a person that values food over everything else and loves food obsessively, and and can't imagine a life without it, then all of my decisions and all of my priorities and everything that I do and think about is going to lead me back to overeating and indulgence versus being optimally healthy.
mhm,
So the identity has to happen first. By being that confident person in your mind, your body then catches up. But if you try to lose the weight to become confident and to become in control, then it just doesn't work that way.
yeah, yeah, totally. Wow. And, you were saying you were sort of obsessed with food, and then one of the things that kind of made you like that light bulb light up in your head is realizing, wait a minute, it's not even food. It's the
Yeah.
obsession with eating something or filling up some lack, some hole. But what you were eating, you like, when did you realize, wait, it's junk, it's not actual food?
I think that was the opinion that I had to have in order to let go of it in the first place. It was this idea that, I'm not going to do it at all. I'm not going to try to moderate it. I'm not going to think to myself that moderation is actually an ideal. Like that's not the relationship I want to have with it. That's not the life I want to have. Right? I used to cling to that so hard. It was, I just wish that I could have a little bit. I wish that, I hope that someday I can add it back. And breaking up with that illusion and realizing I don't ever want it in my life again. I'm not missing out on anything, right? Is really important. And seeing it as a poison and as something that has always been a poison and will always be a poison. And it's like, back when smoking was legal everywhere and it was very socially acceptable. Imagine being a non-smoker and looking around and going, this is so gross. Like, this is so pointless. Why are people doing this? This is the mindset that we have to have with sugar, right? There's going to come a time where it's much more uh, heavily regulated, I think, right? Like cigarettes. Like it's going to be behind the counter and you have to be 18 and there's going to put warning labels on it and all of that. But, you have to think of yourself living in a society where you're outside of that. And so initially I just had that idea that it's poison, it's poison. But the realization moment came to me after maybe about a couple of weeks, because after time, your taste buds will actually adapt. And the things that used to taste good and that used to be mouthwatering actually taste really disgusting
Yeah.
because, it's like there's this layer of muck, this film of nastiness that coats your tongue. And after that peels away, you can take a bite of a fresh bell pepper and it tastes like candy. Like it tastes fresh and sweet. And, the first time I really tasted real food, I actually like started crying
Oh,
because I really like this is how people are supposed to feel. This natural food is supposed to taste good. It's supposed to energize me. It's supposed to make me feel happy. And all the food that I used to think made me happy really made me depressed, literally made me depressed, like warps your brain chemistry and prevents your brain chemicals from from making you feel good and comforting you and soothing you properly. And so food is the only thing that can. And these artificial chemical things are the only things that work. And once you're free from that for a little while, it's like you start to feel normal again. You start to feel like a human,
yeah.
just a natural human.
Totally, totally. And it's like people people fear that if they stop eating the products that they call food that make them feel, I wouldn't say good, but less bad, then they'll never enjoy food. And actually, the opposite is true. It's once you discover, as you did, and so did I, what real food not only tastes like, but how it makes you feel, then it's like, this is the joy of eating.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to take a quick break to say that if this is your first time here, then welcome and thank you for listening to this podcast. And whether you're new or a regular and you haven't yet rated or reviewed this podcast, could I ask you to scroll down and tap on the stars to rate this podcast and also to write a short review to let me know how this podcast is helping you in your life after sugar. I love reading your reviews. And when you rate and review this podcast, not only does it encourage me to continue making new episodes, but it also helps to share this podcast and have more people see it so that we can help more people feel better and lose weight with less sugar. So again, thank you for rating and reviewing this podcast and for spreading the word about sugar. And so, how much weight did you have to lose and how much did you lose?
Well, I started off at probably over 400 pounds. And at my latest, I got down to about 172. I was doing low carb and doing one meal a day, and I was very strict with my fasting, which was helpful because it reduced the amount of time I thought about food, and uh, the cue to eat, the signal to eat used to be because I feel like it, or because somebody came home with groceries, or because uh, I came home at the end of the night and I wanted to look at what was in the fridge, right? And putting parameters around what I eat and when I eat meant that, it's time to eat food at dinner time. It's not time to eat food because I walked into the kitchen or because somebody offered me something or because I saw a commercial and I wanted to go get something,
Yeah.
right? And so doing it that way very strictly for a very long time, uh, it's how I, lost over 200 pounds and got really, really skinny. Um, Probably too skinny, which, then cascades into another problem where, people that are too intense with weight loss and too quick with it and too obsessed with it then develop other disorders that lead back to food. And so, have to be careful about that. But I ended up gaining a little bit more weight and getting to a uh, uh, more muscular and being okay with having a higher set weight was very important as well.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. How long was that journey from 400 down to, let's say, 200?
It took me, so I started really measuring things and tracking it when I started doing keto, and I was 360 at that point because I'd been eating clean before that, but I was eating a bunch of carbs and doing 3 meals a day. And then I switched to pretty much just a more streamlined, sort of quicker approach. That was 360, and then I got down to 195. So what's that? 165 pounds. That took me 11 months. That was uh, January 18th, 2018. And then I weighed 195 on January 1st, 2019, I believe. So it
Wow.
was almost a year.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. And so you were doing this, and did you find it difficult to still be an active member of society with all the different junk foods around us and all the temptations? Did you find that difficult to kind of recreate your own identity, both physically, but especially mentally, spiritually, and still kind of be surrounded by all the foods that you weren't eating anymore?
I think that people that are very successful have a perspective shift when it comes to comparing themselves with other people. Because I used to think to myself, I don't want to be different from other people. I don't want to, I want to be able to fit in and eat what other people are eating and be able to relate to people in that way. And then I realized I have a stronger identity and I have a deeper sense of pride in myself, a deeper sense of satisfaction when I'm actually separate from that. And I'm looking around and thinking to myself, I can't believe people are eating like this. Don't they know what it does to them? It's so sad that they're poisoning themselves. And, you don't know if they go home and they're binging. You don't know how much they struggle with weight. And, you see somebody enjoying themselves at a party and eating what they want and maybe earlier in that day, they got the diagnosis from a doctor that they have diabetes, right? Like you just don't know what people are going through. So instead of glorifying that and thinking other people are doing so well when they're eating like that, you start to look around and shake your head. And I'm so glad that I'm free from that. I'm not still enslaved like everybody around me is. And instead of feeling bad that you're different, see it as a source of pride and something that makes you better, right? Because if I think about it, what is normal? Normal is being overweight and diabetic and dying young. So I'm really glad that I'm not normal
Uh-huh.
if, the modern normal is so unhealthy.
Yeah, that I often make the distinction between normal and common or commonplace, right?
Hmm.
And so, yeah, if what is so-called normal, that I say common, is being sick and overweight and exhausted, then yeah, why? Like, I understand that that's not what you want. Yeah, and do you feel like you've become a sort of a role model for not just the people who want to lose weight, but people who want to transform their lives.
Yeah, I think, if I could do it, anybody can. And I really mean that because I came from nothing. Was, I lived in poverty for most of my life. So I didn't have resources. I came from an abusive situation. Uh, I had no confidence in myself. Uh, I had no skills or experience, and I was really shut away from the world for a long time, just being depressed and being in a funk and isolating myself. So, being able to systematically solve every single problem that a person can possibly imagine that might hold them back in their weight loss, whether it's hormonal or otherwise, whether it's social, I figured every single thing out. So if I could do it, anybody can, because most people are starting off from people have their disadvantages, but most people don't have every disadvantage. And I pretty much started from nothing. And there are other people out there, it's like, they raised a family, they had a successful career, they're pretty good with most things in their life. It's just the food. And so if I could figure everything out, a person can figure just food out. And it's really not as complicated as people make it out to be. I think that, for most people that are addicts, and it's a huge percentage, it's probably more than half. Like most people struggle with addiction, even if they don't realize it. And there's only one thing that you have to do for addiction, which is to surrender and to decide that you want to live your life sugar-free and you want to be sober and you don't want to be an addict anymore. And all the dieting confusion and what should you eat and, having the energy and the time to exercise and being motivated to do your meal prep and being in social situations and all these different things that people struggle with, it all just comes naturally to you when you decide that you're free and you're not gonna fight anymore.
Yeah, wow, that is very powerful, a very powerful message. And it's not just a message, this is your life.
hmm
Yeah, wow. Is there anything that you miss about the food that you don't eat anymore?
No, honestly, no. When you're in it, it has a very powerful manipulative grip on you, and it casts you into this illusion, thinking, "I really like doing this. My nighttime or my weekend, it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be as good." And really, that's the voice of the addiction whispering in your ear saying, do not change. Do not change, right? All of the dopamine that you're getting from eating these foods, it feels good and it feels familiar. And uh, now your brain thinks that you have to have it or you're going to die. But it's a complete illusion. And, we get trapped for so long in denial. And really, the only way out of it is to kind of take a leap of faith and say, I can do 24 hours. I can do 24 hours without eating it, and I'm not going to die, and I'm not going to be miserable. It's not going to ruin my life. And then after 24 hours, I'll see if I can do another 24 hours, right? But just to start somewhere, because you cannot think yourself out of the addiction. You have to take action first and heal your brain in order to believe and to understand just how much better it is. So,
Wow.
when you're in it, it seems like life is never going to be as good. And as soon as you're out of it, you go, "Oh my God, I cannot believe it took me so long. This is so much better."
Yeah, yeah, it's true. I also felt that. And how old were you when you turned your life around like this?
I was 27.
So you were really young compared to most of us. You caught on pretty young.
Yeah, I mean, I often think that I waited way too long and I was pretty old by then. But yeah, I know a lot of people out there, they're 50, 60, 70, and they're still struggling with this stuff and it's very simple. Again, it's not that they're bad or that they don't have the motivation. People that are overweight are some of the most motivated people in the world because they keep trying over and over and they never give up, and it requires incredible dedication. So the problem is not a lack of uh, a person's inner desire, right? People want to lose weight and be healthier more than anything. It's just a lack of knowledge. It's just the wrong strategy. It's just that we live in a society where, all of the sort of conventional weight loss programs are sold not to solve addiction, right? Weight Watchers and Jenny Craig are not addiction recovery programs, which is why the person never beats addiction, which is why they go back to the food, which is why they gain the weight back. It's that simple. And so once I kind of identified that, I realized like there's one thing and one thing only that I need to do. I know that if I never ate the food that made my brain go crazy and made me overeat and binge and gain a bunch of weight, if I never did that, I would never have a weight problem ever again. And so, what's the best way for me to never fall back into the food again is to stop trying to diet and have willpower and uh, say no when I'm at a party. It's just to be sober.
Yeah. Yeah, to be sober, to be abstinent. Yeah, and for many, many of us, we would love to believe that we don't need to be abstinent. And the reality is, when you are, it's so much easier.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
You'd think, oh, my life is going to be so difficult. And what about social events and temptations? And the thing is, there's not really any temptation when you change the way that you're thinking about it, right? Because I because I made a firm decision not to eat sugar. If I am at a party and somebody offers me sugar, if I had not committed to sobriety, then I would have a decision to make. I would have to go, do I want to have a cheat day tonight? Well, uh, I didn't lose weight this week anyway, so I might as well.
Hmm.
Or I'm losing weight really quickly. I'm doing really well. I can take a break.
Hmm.
Or, I had a really bad day and I'm just going to do it just a little bit tonight and then I'll get back on track tomorrow. And you're constantly fighting these rationalizations and these justifications in your brain that are trying to make it okay to go back to the sugar. And if you if you want sobriety, if you want that life, if you value it, if you're excited to live that life, then you just don't think the same way anymore. It's not a constant fight. It's not a constant struggle. I can go be social and people can drink alcohol around me and they can eat sugar around me. And I just don't, I'm not into it, right?
Yeah,
If I'm hanging out with somebody and they want to go outside for a smoke, they can go ahead and do that. But I'm not a smoker, so I'm not sitting there, wringing in my hands and feeling anxious
yeah,
and fighting the temptations because I'm not a smoker.
yeah,
Somebody wants to go to Vegas and gamble, maybe that's their addiction, but I'm not a gambling addict, so okay, you can do that, and I'm not going to struggle with it. And I am a sugar addict, and that's something I've struggled with. But by having total conviction that I'm done with it, I now get to enjoy the peace, right? It's like I used to know what that was like, but I'm just not a sugar addict. Or, I'm a sugar addict, I'm not a sugar eater anymore.
yeah. Yeah, makes total sense because I understand, I can relate because I've been through that journey, and I think a lot of listeners can relate to what you're saying as well. And it's very inspiring because it's not just that you changed what you ate, and it's not just that you lost a lot of weight, which in itself is amazing, but it's you recreated who you are.
Yeah, it's very much about having a vision in your head about what kind of person that you want to be, right? If you imagine, what is this person like socially? What is this person like when they're by themselves? What does this person spend their time on? What does this person care about? And you can invent the identity that you want to have, right? And it all comes from action, which they talk about in Atomic Habits.
Hmm.
It's if you want to be an active person who looks athletic and has a flattering body and lots of definition, it doesn't come from like fighting yourself and beating yourself over the head and trying to motivate yourself to exercise. It actually comes from liking exercise and thinking that that's fun and it's a good way to spend your time because that person just does it all the time and they do it they do it to self-comfort, they do it for entertainment, right? And then it comes naturally and it all happens.
Yeah,
But a person that sees exercise as a chore, it's just something I have to do to lose weight, they're going to resent it and they're going to find ways to rebel and to make excuses, right?
totally.
So it's really more than anything, it's about perspective and it's about finding a way to, especially when it comes to giving up sugar. Something that I think is very helpful is this idea that it's not about giving up sugar, it's about gaining freedom, right? We
Yeah,
have to want to be sober rather than focusing on getting rid of food that we enjoy. If we think of it as a sacrifice, we're not going to want to do it. But, if I'm thinking about, oh, I'm so excited to wake up tomorrow clear-headed and no joint pain and to start saving $30 a day because I'm not buying junk food all the time, right? And you get excited about that, then you're going to be not temporarily motivated to do it, but you're going to be permanently aligned with doing it. And there's no trouble with consistency after that.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Alex. You are such an inspiration. Thank you for inspiring us all today.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope it helps. Uh, if somebody's in the food and they feel hopeless and they've struggled with this stuff and they feel like they're alone and they're weird and there's just something wrong with them, hearing other people that have had the same types of thoughts and have the same types of struggles and realizing that person just made a shift. They made an adjustment. They started thinking differently. They started, committing to new habits every day, uh, having a better mindset about it. Those are the things that actually matter. It doesn't require talent. It doesn't require better genetics, right? These are things that can help, but anybody can just choose to change their perspective and what they believe.
Yeah, it's what I call your personal power.
Mhm.
Totally. Thank you, Alex, so much. Such an inspiring story from Alex, not just because of the number of pounds that he lost, but especially for the way that Alex became so much more aware of why he had put on the weight in the first place. And that's what I love about Alex and his story, is that he approaches it from a curious, self-aware perspective rather than being judgmental either about himself or anyone else. And that's exactly the type of approach that you'll find in my 12-week program, The Freedom from Cravings Formula. In the program, you'll get step-by-step guidance and customized support through the 5-step formula that I've developed to help you get control over cravings so that you can finally live your life with more energy and fit into your favorite clothes effortlessly, and feel confident in your food choices so that you can ditch the shame and embarrassment that you feel every time your emotions make you slip or fall off the wagon, and so that you never feel like you're on some kind of restrictive diet. If you're at the stage of your life when you're finally ready to look after yourself, let's chat. You can talk directly to me on a free clarity call at any time by going to aftersugarclub.com and clicking on Program at the top. You'll also find the link with the show notes together with this episode. So go to aftersugarclub.com. Speak to you soon. That's it for this week. Keep in touch and see you soon for another episode.